Yeah. Deeper than the surface. It was the way your silence still unfolded like a letter. How you carry quiet storms without a need for shelter. It was the patience in your gaze when the hours grew restless. How you held a fractured moment and still named it sacred. It was the way you loved without requiring an audience. How you tended other gardens while your own remained abundant. It was the strength that never raised its voice to prove its worth. How you turned away the evening into softer earth. It was the way your spirit moved beneath the conversation. How you found the buried light in those who had forgotten. It was the grace you offered strangers you would never see again. How you wore each scar as though it still belonged to purpose. It was the way you stayed tender in a season that grew hard. How you chose the longer mercy when the shorter path was guarded. It was the laughter that could lift the soul from its own edge. How you made the plainest Tuesday feel like something said. It was the way your presence made the air feel less heavy. How you never sought the spotlight just to know that you were ready. It was the loyalty that lived beyond the reach of convenience. How you stood beside the wounded and still called them brilliant. It was the quiet joys you gathered like small holy treasures. How you spoke of coming days as if they already held measure. It was the unadorned way you loved, no stage, no parade. How you made the simple act of staying feel like praise. So when I say you were beautiful, I do not mean the surface. I mean the way your spirit gave the ordinary purpose. I mean the way you held the world without surrendering your center. How you turned the weight of living into something tender. It was everything you were when the lights had settled down. The heart, the faith, the soul, the way you held your ground. That is the beauty I keep finding as the days unfold. Not the part the eyes can measure, but the part the soul can hold. Yeah. That is what made you beautiful. Yeah. That is what made you beautiful, 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 beautiful. Yeah. Deeper than the surface.